Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Important Consultants Conversation webinar. Today, we will be focusing on employee engagement. I would like to thank you for joining on behalf of Achievers and 50,000 Foot. Our session is planned to take about an hour, including 15 minutes of Q&A. We have 3 speakers for you today. We'll just spend a moment and let them introduce themselves. So Celeste, would you mind going first?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. My name's Celeste. I've worked with Achievers for 3 years now, and I'm our Listen Sales and Strategy Executive. And I will be walking you through the functionality of our Listen VOE solution today.
Excellent. And I'm Lino Gentile. I'm the VP and GM of the Employee Voice part of our business. I've been in this space for about 10 years, so excited about all the movement and the trends in the space, and excited to share some of that with you. We actually also have Vanessa Brangman on the line. Vanessa, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Hello, everyone. As Lena said, my name is Vanessa Brangman, and I'm the Chief Customer Officer at Achievers. I've been with Achievers for almost 10 years, and in that time have had the true privilege of working really with hundreds of customers on their journey to creating engaged workforces that ultimately drive business results. So excited to be part of the conversation today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Celeste, Lino, and Vanessa for joining. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Trent Poplar. I'm the president of 50,000 Foot. I've had over 20 years of experience in the consulting industry, both working for firms and as an independent. And I'm really happy to be holding this discussion today. Very excited that the opportunity that Achievers is bringing us. So very looking forward to this. So let's begin. Any discussion held around consulting in today's environment must take into account COVID. COVID has changed how businesses are operating, and especially how they're managing employees. Whether it's dealing with a diverse remote workforce or preparing for a return to a new form of life not yet defined. This new reality has made engaging employees and listening to their needs both more challenging and more important. This session will touch on the importance of employee engagement, solutions you as a consultant can utilize to help your clients, especially in the realm of employee engagement, and how to leverage what we will discuss today to both grow your business and grow your revenues. I will start today by spending just a couple of minutes discussing 50,000 Foot and our member revenue programs. For those of you that are not members of 50,000 Foot, we are a premier member community for independent consultants and small consulting firms. We support our members in growing their consulting business through bringing them new opportunities, helping them connect with other professionals, expanding their service offerings, and building out their brands. As I mentioned before, I have experience both in firms and as an independent. Over my time working as a consultant, I had to change my services depending on what the market needed. We at 50,000 Foot are developing ways for our members to remain flexible for their clients, while also finding new ways to bring in revenue. I'm sure most of us on this call have worked alongside or competed against many of the large consulting firms. It is clear that although revenues are mainly generated from their core consulting businesses, all of these firms have partners, and they derive revenue from these partners. IBM, Oracle, SAP, Cisco are just a few of the large partners that the major consulting houses have and have revenue sharing programs with. Setting up partnerships like this for small firms and independents can be very tricky, if not downright impossible. These large solution providers do not have the time nor patience to deal with individuals with small business. If we can go to the next slide, that is where 50,000 Foot steps in. We use the strength of our membership to create partnership programs that our members can participate in. This provides members with additional revenue opportunities and provides our partners a large base of highly skilled professionals with a wide array of clients. Our revenue programs allow you to expand services with high quality offerings, generate new streams of revenue for your business, and grow trust with your clients. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our newest partner in revenue program, Achievers. Achievers brings us an amazing employee engagement platform that would provide our clients an advantage in today's challenging market. To provide you with more detail on Achievers' offering, I will now hand the presentation off to Lino. Lino?
Awesome. Thanks so much, Trent. Team, so excited to be partnered with 50,000 Foot and all of you to help organizations live up to their full potential. What I want to talk to you today about is really this concept of the largest perishable value that an organization has. If you think about industries like manufacturing, where they apply techniques like Kaizen to be able to optimize their resources down to the nth degree. And yet when it comes to people management, it's a very different deal, because obviously everyone's very different and difficult to manage. And so I want to share with you, when we look at the service profit chain, which is a very popular way of taking a look at the value that employees deliver. When organizations take care of their employees take care of their customers take care of their revenue and shareholder needs. And if we go to the next slide, you could see that there's a large challenge in the market around not actively engaged. 85% of organizations, of workers have employees that are not actively engaged. And it creates a tremendous drain on their potential and productivity. And organizations operate like this is a cost of doing business. As much as we would love to have every employee doing all the right things all the time, it's just a cost of doing business because they're human beings. And what's really exciting is that Achievers, this is kind of what we solve. This is the business that we're in. If we can go to the next slide. When we look at our mission, it's about changing the way the world works. And we do that with three primary products. First, with our Listen product. This is our ability to listen to what's important to employees and have that inspire what the organization rallies behind and what it prioritizes. With the voice of the employee, we're also able to take a look at our recognition and reward solution, which helps encourage and reinforce the values that organizations want to live by, but also the behaviors that are driving tremendous business output. And then third, Coach, using all of this insight of what's important from employees and what motivates employees to be able to coach managers and employees to be able to take action and make meaningful improvements in their work environment. This is the Kaizen, if you will, of employee engagement. And this allows us to create environments where employees are doing the best work of their lives every single day. And we do it with two very unique lenses. Because we're at the intersection of behavioral science and leadership science, we are employee first. We know that if we do right by the employees and really serve them, deliver value to them, they will be able to then deliver value to the organization. And because you'll see some of the trends in the space is about empowering teams, we are part of empowering managers and making better managers and leveling up managers. Those are two key ingredients that are infused in everything we do into our model. And this is how we deliver positive business outcomes in a sustainable way that creates a culture that means business. So Achievers is super excited to be here to help partner with you to deliver this to organizations. If we go to the next slide, you can see a really exciting trend in the space, exciting for employees, and that is the decline of the annual engagement survey. Most of you are most likely familiar with the engagement survey, but this is often a once-a-year exercise, a really heavy surveying exercise. We get insights to what's meaningful to employees. Because it's a lot of data, there's a lot of time to crunch it. We then share it with the executive team and then try to get it down to the department level. And often this is a retrospective that's like, hey, 3-4 months ago, this was when I answered these questions. What was going on there? And that's becomes very irrelevant at the pace that the business moves at now. Any lag like that becomes really irrelevant. And you can see here, there's a decline of the annual engagement survey at about 6.7%. And what's growing on top of that is really this augmentation of additional employee monitoring data and more frequent listening. And so you could see a very strong momentum in the market to be able to augment the annual engagement survey. The other thing you'll see is the decline of the annual engagement survey is slower than the growth of the augmentation. And this is because organizations are still holding on to their comfy, cozy blanket of annual engagement surveys, often because CEOs are still held accountable to their board for engagement surveys, but we know that isn't going to be moving the needle. And so organizations are actively layering on more frequent listening solutions that then gives them the baseline they need to be able to deprecate the annual engagement survey. So what does this all mean? It actually means tremendous market demand. So Gartner here predicts that about 80% of enterprise organizations with 2,500 employees will be augmenting their annual engagement survey with more frequent collection and analysis of employee voice. This is a really tremendous opportunity in the market for organizations. It has a tremendous amount of movement. And when we layer on the COVID experience, you know, there's a lot of analysts that talk about the fact that it was finance that was going to take organizations out of the financial crisis. Well, this is HR that's going to take organizations out of the out of this COVID crisis. And so what does this all mean to you? I would summarize this with 3 key areas that I would think about as you're working with your clients. First of all, help them make the business case. We often find that we're working with heads of HR, CEOs, key leaders who have a belief system. Help them connect that belief system to the financial business case that it comes with to be able to help make those decisions and prioritize it. The second opportunity is it really becomes about leadership development. To be able to do it this frequently, and Celeste will show you more, and to be able to bring it down to the teams, this is about leveling up managers, and so a tremendous opportunity. And the third one I'll leave you with is what we foresee is that taking kind of these blind shots at what should we do for our employee base, what should we invest in, that will stop, and it will be very inspired and informed by data coming out of the employee engagement surveys that will tell organizations, here is where you can put the greatest investments, and this is the type of return you can get. And so we will have the data to be able to help organizations understand what no-brainer decisions will there be to engage further consulting opportunities to help level up the organization. So with all of that, tremendous market opportunity. We're really excited to be part of the journey. We're really excited to be partnered with 50,000 Foot and this community, and we think there's tremendous opportunity for you. So with that, I will pass it over to Celeste to take you through more details.
Thank you, Lino. Yeah, I think the first thing I would like to detail is who would be the best people that would benefit from our solution. Who are the clients that we serve? When you're out there working with your clients, we typically partner with organizations that have 250 plus number of employees. That's where our solution is designed to fit, as those kind of mid-market and enterprise level organizations. And the biggest splash that we're going to make are with organizations that are experiencing immense amount of pain. And so often those organizations they've never measured engagement. And so they know that they need information to make a successful people strategy, or they are only measuring engagement annually today. And we know that that's not going to cut it, particularly in a pandemic environment. How we are working to really provide a great solution, all of that through the functionality is supported by the academic rigor of our product. And I think maybe Laura's having a bit of issues. There we go. Here we go. So we have a really an academic rigor behind our product and our philosophy. And the first one, and this is going to be woven through all of the features that I show you today, is that one, engagement is exceptionally fluid. So we know that the way employees feel about work is ever evolving and changes on a very regular basis. And if we're only asking employees how they feel about work once a year, we're leaving so many insights on the table. And in today's environment, that's just not going to cut it. We're going to deal with recency bias. So we help organizations get a frequent touch on what is going on in the employee experience. Secondly, we want it to be highly personal. We know each individual is different from the next. We can't take a generic approach in what it's going to take to improve an employee experience. All employees are different and they require a tailored approach. And so our solution allows for that. And then lastly, and in my opinion, most importantly, organizations focus very strongly on getting a ton of data and turning it into insights. But what is lacking, and what I'm sure when you are out there, the pain organizations are dealing with, is how do I take this great insight and how do I get managers to act on it? How do I drive positive organizational change based on that feedback? We know that 70% of an employee's engagement is reliant on their manager, but only 30% of managers are taking action today. So I'm also going to detail you about our approach and how we empower frontline managers to act on employee feedback. And with that, I'm going to head into the demo site. So we at Achievers focus on three main brackets of functionality. The first one is measure. We need to get the surveys out to employees. Then we need to turn that data into insights. We need to make those insights accessible, have managers have access to their data in real time. And then we need to empower a third, action. So turning those insights into action. So the first piece in terms of measurement, we have multiple channels that we can employ to collect feedback. But the first one that I'm going to focus on with Listen is really our pulse survey piece. And this really focuses on short but frequent surveys going out to employees. And these surveys are administered by HR, by the administrators themselves. They can delegate who has access, and they can send out those pulse surveys when works for them. So most of our customers are running these surveys on a quarterly basis. And that's really key, going back to our philosophy about how engagement is fluid. If you were making fiscal decisions, you wouldn't look at your numbers once a year to make plans. It's the exact same thing with people data. How can you make an effective people strategy if you're only checking in once a year? So most of our customers are running these 4 times a year, and we try to make this as easy as possible. Employees are getting these surveys either through email or through a push notification to their phone. As we know, many organizations don't have employees sitting in front of a computer every day, or may not even have access to an email address. So those notifications have a personalized link. We want to remove as many barriers as possible. Employees do not need to enter a password or a username in order to access the survey. And going back to that academic rigor that lives behind the product, we actually have a team internally called the Workforce Institute. They're a team of engagement scientists. They have collected and curated latest science and use that science to inform the product, and also partner with our customers to ensure that they're getting the most out of their data. This is really also a great opportunity for you to step in and get more billable hours in terms of understanding that data and partnering with key stakeholders within the business. But they have made the survey questions, and the survey is 17 questions long. We separate it into driver questions, which are the actionable factors that impact engagement. So we typically ask questions around recognition, manager support, leadership and strategy, etc. And then we have indicator questions, which are how we are arriving at an organization's overall composite employee engagement score. And with these indicator questions, we really want to get an idea of how enthused and committed are those employees showing up to work each and every day. We also provide organizations the ability to ask open text questions. So great place to get more insight into how employees are feeling about work, about what's going on in their employee experience. That is the user's experience taking this pulse survey. I now want to show you the manager perspective. So managers get real-time access. When the pulse surveys close, they have the ability right away to go in and check the results. We don't want lag time. We don't want recency bias. We want to ask on a very regular basis and empower managers to act on that feedback. So managers who have access to this reporting will have 5 or more reports. We really try to find a balance between protecting the confidentiality of employees, but going back to our philosophy of taking a personalized approach and inspiring and empowering action. We've got to get the data into the hands of the frontline managers. Those are the people that are going to be taking the most effective way to make changes happen within an organization. So Tori, within our demo site, is quite a high up executive, and she can see the results based off of her hierarchical structure. So we coordinate with an organization's HRIS file. So Tori can see everyone who ultimately falls under her purview, or she can drill down into the specific teams that ultimately roll up into her responsibility. So she can roll into the directors and their specific teams. So she can segment the data as she sees fit. And we organize this very simply. We've got company-wide information up top. We also provide the breakdown per each question for the team that she's looking at. And we provide Tori with a bunch of easy visualizations to turn data into insights. We have comments. We also employ machine learning. So we are grouping together the common themes employees are speaking to in the open text part of their question so that a manager can have a narrowed down focus. We're trying to make their life as easy as possible so they can see where they should be looking at when they're going through the comments. We also provide them with heat maps, which just takes a ton of comparative data and puts it into one easy visualization so that if I'm the manager, I can review results across different teams that fall under my responsibility, or I can also review based off of our benchmarking data. So green would be where I'm doing well, and yellow and red would be areas where I could consider for improvement. But the key place that we differentiate and where organizations really stumble is with the action builder, getting managers to take action on employee feedback. And we don't believe in survey fatigue at Achievers. We believe in inaction fatigue. And our action builder is built very differently from a lot of other voice of the employee solutions you've likely seen. We focus on facilitating a conversation. We don't want to provide an action library where a manager is deciding what they're focusing on and what they're going to do about it before they meet with their team. We want everybody's voice having an impact on what it's going to take to move the needle on engagement for those specific individuals. So the first step of the action builder actually occurs while the pulse survey is open. The manager comes into the tool and schedules a meeting with their team. And what we've seen on our end is spikes in participation when a manager shows that they are committed to taking action on feedback to their team. We then want them to review at a high level, how does my team compare to the company as a whole? And we also surface up what we think will be the most meaningful insights for that manager's use. We don't want to tell them what they're going to be focusing on for the quarter, but we want to assist them by turning, again, that data into insights. So we surface up things that we're doing well, things to consider for action improvement, and split this up based on the biggest changes from the last pulse survey, as well as what are the most important factors that impact engagement for that specific team. And this is also quite different. We don't think it's reasonable for a manager to address every single engagement hotspot within one quarter. If we want real action to take place, we have to have a very narrowed focus on what they're going to accomplish. So a manager is going to pick out 1 to a maximum of 2 hotspots and highlights for their quarter. So if this were me as a manager, I might select recognition to be my area that is a highlight, that is doing quite well in terms of the spread of responses. It's above the benchmarking data. So I'm going to click this as my highlight. And we're trying to make managers' lives easier. When I select that, it's automatically pulled into a presentation for me. I don't have to make that presentation myself. So after I've selected my hotspots and highlights, I can read through the comments. I can also piece out into these text box the common themes employees are speaking to in the comments. We don't want managers verbatim quoting employees. It's just going to be the themes that they're speaking to. When I do that, it's also pulled into a presentation for me. And then it's time to meet. We try to make this dead simple for managers. So we give them 2 options. They can download that presentation to PowerPoint if they want to continue to make adjustments, or they can download it to PDF if they feel that it's ready to go. I can pull up an example of what this would look like. Again, we give them a quick agenda. We want them sharing. This is how we as a team compare to the company as a whole. Here's where we're doing well and some of the issues that you guys spoke to that you like. Conversely, here's where we have some concerns and some of the issues that are happening that were detailed in the comment section. And now we as a team are going to brainstorm what we can do to move the needle on engagement for us. So after we have come up with what our micro actions are, what's it going to take, I come in here back to the tool and I jot down what we're focusing on and the action we're going to take. I also have the ability to track and log the micro actions that we have come up with. This step only becomes available to managers when I have gotten to the meet stage. of the action builder. And we are all about leveling up managers. We want to nudge them to be the best leaders that they can be. So we will prompt them and ping them to conduct their listening sessions with their team. And we will also remind them that they have upcoming actions or when their actions are overdue. So I could go ahead and I could create these actions. Maybe we're going to schedule regular one-on-ones. What does success look like? Which category does this relate to? Maybe it's development. And not only is it just falling upon the manager to carry the burden of engagement, this is about engaging everybody on the team. I can assign someone else on the team that action, that micro action that we're going to take. We want managers to typically have 2 to 5 micro actions out of each and every listening session that they occur. And I can have a due date. And again, I'll get pinged when they're to be completed or when they're overdue. And I can go ahead and mark that as complete. From an administrative perspective, administrators have the ability to see which managers are using the action builder, what are they focusing on, and over time, are those actions indeed having an impact on the employee experience, or how are the actions impacting the scores? So just additional way for us to drive accountability and provide line of sight for HR to help support as business partners, the frontline managers. We also at Achievers understand that it's not just about the technology. So we supply executive summaries so that HR can support the different stakeholders within their business and get a high level view of what's happening within the organization. I think that this is another key place where you guys as consultants can help iterate on that executive summary and support the different stakeholders with that high level information. And that's really the Listen Suite. I'm gonna pass this back to Laura. We're gonna discuss a few questions that you can ask to really move forward and see where we're going there.
Okay, thanks Celeste. Thanks Lino. That was a really great walkthrough of the Achievers solution. I think, you know, as a consultant, it's easy to see how a tool like Listen could be utilized for a client and how it would help navigate employee engagement issues. I know from my experience, having a tool like this would have helped when I was in conversations with you know, my HR clients, my management clients. So I think it's easy to visualize how a tool like this could be used by a consultant for their clients. It would obviously lead to some very straightforward positioning questions when you're going in to talk to a client, like what's your current process for measuring engagement? How often are they doing engagement surveys? How do they use the information? I think the one thing that you mentioned that differentiates the Achiever solution is being able to drive actions. And those actions can lead for a consultant to other places, other hours, billable hours, other projects potentially. So it opens the doors for the consultants who are helping out implement these programs. So I think it leads to a lot of potential good opportunities for our members. If we go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about how our members can take advantage of this solution. So the great thing that this partnership does is it allows our members to have an exclusive offer for Achievers in the market. The consultants who are members and who are using this will have a discount of 15% for Listen and 20% for the entire Achievers suite that they can offer to their clients that no one else in the market, none of the other consultants in the market have. In addition, this is a revenue share program. So for all referrals that you make that are successful with Achievers, you will get a 10% revenue share. So it will help you build new revenue. Not only will you get a revenue share, but in my mind, it leads to also other billable hours and other projects. In addition, it'll drive your service toolkit, add a new tool to your belt that you can use with your clients that you didn't have previous to joining this partnership. Okay? To participate in this program, it's simple. You need to be a premium member of 50,000 foot. I think, you know, you go away and you talk to your top 5 clients about the benefits of this employee engagement solution, speak with your clients, and then you submit referrals through the 50,000 foot solution to achievers. Those referrals are reviewed by the achievers team. They will contact you if they have questions. You can do consults with the achievers team, then you can move the referral forward, and hopefully it's successful. More terms and conditions can be found on the 50,000 foot HQ page under the additional revenue opportunities. All of the achievers programs are now up on our site as of this morning. Okay, we'll now move to the Q&A session. I'll go through the question that was recorded on the chat first, and then if anyone has to add any questions, I will definitely have them addressed. So just to start, we had a question from Nicholas, and he asked, have you ever noticed a difference between employee engagement when there is a merger and acquisition occurring? He's experienced this recently. So Lino, you wrote back. Do you mind kind of just summarizing your response?
Yeah, totally. M&A is a hot topic for sure when you think about what's happening to the psychology of those employees. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. Often we also find that in an M&A, what you're doing is bringing two cultures together. And so that creates a lot of uprooting of the sediment, if you will, in an organization. So I think it's natural. I think Nick had also further clarified that it was interesting to see the direction in which the lack of engagement existed. Often the acquired company is not engaged, and you would think because the business is being handed over to another organization. But I believe in his example, it was the acquiring organization that didn't have the engagement. And so what I would say is, M&A does kick up that sediment, if you will. But actually, if you look at the factors of engagement, it makes a lot of sense on why either scenario could happen. So Nicholas, in that case, love to connect offline and connect you with our chief workforce scientist who can share a little bit more about the engagement drivers and piece that picture together.
Yeah, I will add to that. We see a lot of that as a trigger event for a lot of people for purchasing. Listen, they've recently been acquired, or they've recently had an acquisition.
Excellent, thank you. Now the floor is open for any other questions. You can either write in the chat, or if you would like to ask it, you can raise your hand and we can open up your mic.
Celeste, it's Trevor. Can I ask you one quick question? In the decision and purchase making process, who are the individuals that consultants should be talking to? What C-level or what decision makers in a business should they be trying to make sure they're aligned with?
That's a really great question. Thank you so much, Trevor. I would say it varies depending on usually the size of the organization. So if you're working with an organization that's 250 employees, they likely have maybe 3 members of their HR team, in which case you probably would want to be speaking to their head of HR or their VP of HR. The larger organizations become, obviously the more specific they become, or HR professionals become. So you probably want to look at HR professionals that have organizational development pieces, maybe a background in organizational psychology. So they usually have an OD title, or potentially a talent management or employee relations title. Did that answer your question? And I would say usually we are very happy to engage in this discussion with HR professionals that are looking, if they're managers and they're having pains around looking for a more real-time approach or translating action. We're happy to have that discussion and help get a budget provided and help make a business case for those managers internally. But usually your buyer would be your ideal person to talk to, and they are likely maybe the head or VP within an organization in HR.
Excellent. We got another question from Andy K. Can the survey be completed without an employee name or identification number? Some employees don't want to criticize their managers or company.
That's a great question. I can field that question. Our pulse survey is confidential. So it's not anonymous, because we can make the link between who left that feedback and the individual. We, however, house that data. We would never disclose the identity of an individual unless there was a serious case of security concerns or safety concerns that met our internal requirements. And that is why we do have provisions such as no manager can have access to the results unless they have 5 or more reports. We're really trying to find a balance between protecting confidentiality there. But I think that you really have to look at as a change management perspective. And that's where we partner, and you can probably partner as well, in terms of getting an organization ready to adopt a culture of regular feedback. And in doing so, this needs to be very much a solution-oriented tool, that this is not meant to reprimand any employee. This is meant to make a best-in-class work experience for you. And the more transparent you can be, the more that information we have to improve the organization. And I think additionally, it's the onus is on the organization as well over time. And what we've seen is participation rates increase. And that is really a testament to the trust of the employees. If we're empowering managers to take effective action on feedback, employees will feel that their voice has merit and is really desired by the organization, and they see this as a solution oriented. So from a change management perspective, we assist, but it's also about getting the organization to actually respond and drive action based on feedback. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Celeste. There's another question from Dawson. It says, does the tool assume that there are no disgruntled employees? Question mark. Will this not skew the results with certain people involved?
So I think, of course, there would be disgruntled employees, but I think often with disgruntled employees, it's important that they have a channel to provide feedback. I think disgruntled employees often are disgruntled because they feel that their voice is not heard. We, from a change management perspective, focus on how do we empower managers to deal with negative feedback and open up a conversation with those employees. Maybe they're disgruntled because their voice, they don't feel that their voice has any say within their organization. Hopefully that was helpful as well. Thank you for the question. That's a great question.
Celeste, maybe I'll add really quick. I think also the Likert scale helps us identify when there's an anomaly. And so you can see if it is really one person that has a strong view one way, but it is not the the sentiment of the majority, and you can break that down by team. So that helps identify that. But to Celeste's point, I mean, we know that there are varying degrees of sentiment within the employee population. That's exactly what we're in the game of trying to help expose, so that you can, in an informed way and in a calculated way, address how employees are feeling.
Great. That is all the questions in the chat right now. I'll leave it open for one more minute just in case someone wants to add another question or raise their hand. Okay, wonderful. Then if what we can do is on the final slide, there's 2 emails. These are emails that you can use to contact both 50,000 Foot and Achievers about this program. So the first, members@50,000foot.com, is if you have questions around how to access the Achievers information on our site, or questions around being a member. The 50,000 Foot referrals at Achievers, use that if you have questions about Achievers, their solutions, if you have questions about their products, and when you have referrals, you can send stuff to information. The Achievers team will get back to you promptly with any questions that you have, and so will the 50,000 team. Celeste, Vanessa, did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we close up?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Celeste. No, go ahead.
I mean, I would love to expand on that. Listen is one part of our solution. We do have a broader spectrum. We see a lot of the customers that we're partnering with partner with us because they can grow with us over the years. A lot of companies are looking to consolidate their solution just from an administrative as well as user experience. It's great to be able to have one vendor provide you with various areas. So we not only pulse surveys is what you saw today, but we also have continuous listening. We also do rewards and recognition. So we try to be an end-to-end closed loop to cover all of an organization's engagement needs. That's it. Thank you. I'll pass it on to you, Lino.
Awesome. Yeah. And I was just going to add really quick. I mean, when you think about your client base, my recommendation is just look out into that client base. And, you know, during COVID, there's a lot of things organizations can prioritize. They're trying to figure out what's going on in their industry. They're trying to trend when will their revenues come back to a certain degree, and kind of what are some of the measures they have to take in between. In some cases, industries are seeing tremendous demand. What I would say is look for those organizations that really understand the role and the value of taking care of their people, especially during this time, and help them appreciate what their peers are doing with respect to listening. It really unroots and helps prioritize the right things so that you aren't taking guesses at what's going to help employees do the most meaningful work of their lives.
Excellent, great. So we will be posting this session online. It's been recorded, so if you need to come back to it to hear anything again, you'll be able to access that on the 50,000 Foot blog. Also, if you know any other friends, colleagues, consultants who this may benefit from, please let them know. They can contact us or the Achievers team, and we'd love to answer their questions, or they can watch the video themselves. Have a great rest of the day. Please stay safe. Take care. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.